How much of an impact does the budgeting system in states, because I mean, when you see their budgets, you see recurrent expenditure or capital expenditure. In some cases, they tell you it's only a few states that have the recurrent expenditure higher than their capital expenditure. But even at that, in many of those, the other way, capital higher than recurrent?
Most have
recurrent
higher than capital.
But most are still owing salaries.
Kano State does 75% on capital expenditure. It's one of the best. Yes, that's the information I have. It's one of the best. Yeah,
I think last time around, Kano, if I remember, Lagos, Akwa Ibom, some of them do higher capital than recurrent.
Exactly.
Ogun as well.
But they are still in this dire situation. So, and the one thing I have to point out, with the federal government's difficulty in getting in enough revenues, I hope you remember that it has, in the past, during Jonathan's regime, over the past 1 year, twice they delayed federal allocation to states. Do you remember? Mm-hmm. For 2 months, and there was difficulty for state governments to. So, just coming back to what you mentioned, the federal government itself, in order not to create panic before her own foreign creditors and local creditors, has to be very careful with the level of information it gives out to the public about the finances of the country. If you notice, it is the governor that are speaking more. The federal is not talking much about it.
So who is there to speak?
Exactly. So you need to do a lot of. I repeat what I said. There is no way that this problem we are in now is going to be solved without a multi-stakeholder intervention process.
But
the president is not going to get up tomorrow and say, I'm going to give you guys bailout. Yes, he may verify the debt owed for road construction, federal government road construction done by states, verify that pay. But to do the proper bailout, I don't think the president is going to come and do that without having a very clear picture from all stakeholders. Is this a go way? Is this a no way?
You know, I have seen a situation where we're looking at same short-term solutions, because yes, states must get out of this. People must get their money. And if they don't, you might see another, bout of protest, and who knows, we might even grind to a halt again. Exactly. But then after we've come out of this, and prayerfully, we should, how do you see us not getting back here?
Well, Mr. President, it's a very important question. Mr. President, in his last 4 foreign trips, it's not 4 foreign trips in 2 weeks, has always hoped that he's going to plug all the loopholes that exacerbate corruption. He hasn't laid out the game plan. So, if we succeed in getting out of this, there is no guarantee we will not come back, because there's a precedent. It happened in 2003. This is 12 years after, right? It's happening again. If Buhari is not careful, if the bailout is done now, this situation may happen again within the 4 years of his first term.
So the question is, will he bail out again if it happens again?
That I said, if he does, okay. We are not even sure he's going to do bailout now, because the governors are saying they're going to see him next week. So we're not even sure he's going to do the bailout at all. But if he does, if we get to that point and he does, which I don't think he's going to do without having ministers in place anyway, there's no guarantee he's going to do it again. And knowing him with his strict financial discipline, I don't think he's going to do it. It will bring me back to what I said before. What does the constitutional provision say about financial emergency? Because he will say, if I'm going to give you funds, I have to be sure you manage it well, because I don't have a record that you guys are managing funds well. Now, another important question is this. It's happening in 1 or 2 countries. There is no state government in my recollection that has gone to the Central Bank of Nigeria and invited them to their state. Come and advise us on public finances. The CBN, one of their roles, they give technical advice.
Should states be doing that when the states could tell you, look, I've got my team, my economic management team, led by perhaps the finance commissioner, should they still need CBN?
I'll give you the reason why they should need CBN. The instruction was given, the bankers committee meets every month with the CBN governor. They discuss their challenges, their problems. When the former Minister of Finance gave the instruction, all bankers locally in Nigeria don't lend to state governments without our clearance. He would have made that statement without discussing with the CBN. So if a state government knows that it's having problems now borrowing locally, go to the regulator of the banking industry. It's happening in some countries. Ask them, come in and advise us. It's free of charge. They won't even charge you to do that. Give us some technical advice, even for the local governments. Have a roundtable in your state. The governor, his commissioners, the local government chairman with their, whoever's in charge of their financial department. State your issues. Let the CBN, perhaps even with the Minister of Finance, have a look at it. This is now, I'm not saying all of them should come at the same time, but any state that thinks that it's important to him can do that. What I'm doing is what? Preferring different solutions that have worked in different parts of the world. I've talked about the capital levy. I've talked about this, having CBN advise you. I've talked about multi-year budgeting. You can do a budget now, say, for 4 years. Get the legislators to sit down. And that brings me to the state legislators, because we keep talking federal.
They need to also play
the state legislators too will be, we will be in the red. The campaign. So they need to do what? To rein in the excessive public spending of the governors. So they have their own role to play as well. So you see that you see now the reason why I said that we need to have a multi-stakeholder engagement process.
So in the meantime, while they meet the president next week, we'll be waiting to see what decision they eventually take on this one, because people need to be paid their salaries.
Hoping it goes well, because frankly, today is the beginning of the fasting season for the Muslims. Assuming many of them are not paid, what happens? A hungry man is what? An angry man.
Yeah.
So, this is in 2 weeks' time. We are mid-year. So the second half of the year, the next 6 months, it means we're going to be in for a rough time at the end of the year. What will be the balance sheet? And remember, we have financial obligations, and if you do not pay the creditors externally, both federal government and state governments, our risk rating, our sovereign risk rating drops, and that will affect our international credibility.
Well, that's where we'll have to anchor today. I want to thank you for coming on. Dr. Ikenna Nwosu is an investment consultant and a development economist, among many things. Well, what will Labour do about this one? What kind of facts and figures do they have? Well, that will be coming up next. Don't go away.